definitely going to change everything when it comes to the finishing order of this race. Jeremy Miller, can he recover from that kind of damage? I don't really know if he could, because this is such a aero-dependent track.
Well, see, I don't think he can, because
he smacked it pretty hard.
He came into the pits immediately after the leader, as now Chambliss comes into the pits. So does the 37 of Swiggett. So this could leave Robbie Kennelly into the lead of this race. A little bit of a surprise, but he gained 12 positions. Started down in some bumhole position right towards the back and ended up finishing... Oh jeez, I can't even find you. Derek Myers, the teammate of Gerald West. Oh, and the 98 of Jerry Glenn's just gone round. I think that was off the bumper of Logan Lansford. And that is going to give the advantage to Gerald West here on the outside line. But can they hold it? That is the question. Did they make their move too soon? Thomas Harmon sitting there just in behind them. He moves up. Derek blocks. He moves down. Derek blocks again. Konnichiwa, everyone. And if iRacing will show up on the screen, there we go. And welcome to Motegi, Japan for the SimSearch.com 130 right here at the Twin Rings Speedway. NASCAR first came back here in the 90s to do little promotional events. You got to see the two Earnhardts fighting it out side by side on track and have little bits of disputes. But today, we bring the Output Racing League here to tackle 130 miles of this fantastic speedway over in the land of the East. You see, so there's some drivers out there on track. Only a very small field assembled for this race here tonight. 12 cars on track. But that should not detract from any of the action. We even have a newcomer to the Output Racing League. He actually came into ORL through the Night Owl Racing League, one of the recruitment races over there. And he's made his way over into the Output side as well. And that will be the 85 of Trey Anderson. I don't think he's actually on track at the moment. In fact, no one's on track. It looks like everyone is in the pits, getting ready to do a pit party here. But currently, got Chris Champeau on top of the timetable with a 36.504. So very interesting there for the time. We've got James Watson second, TJ Crampton third, Thomas Harmon fourth, and Joe Salama currently sitting in fifth. You see the cars starting to roll out onto the raceway. Now, Twin Rings here is actually a very unique motorsports facility. Underneath certain parts of the oval track here, you actually encounter the road course. So it's a combined road course and oval facility. And NASCAR hasn't been here since, I'm pretty sure, the late 90s. I'm going to say 1998 was probably the last time NASCAR came here. I'm not entirely sure. It looks like everyone getting ready for a pit party. And the speedway itself, very uniquely shaped. It is egg-shaped. Turns 1 and 2 being much wider than turns 3 and 4, which is where they are right now. Expect the cars to downshift down to third for turns 3 and 4. Everyone gets lined up here on the front straight, and we're off and racing for the pit party. And a cool sponsor as well, simsearch.com. Go check them out. You can see already Kyle Kraus taking the lead of the pit party here. He's got James Watson right on his tail. And side by side for third is Slama and Isaacson. Already got one in the fence. I think that was Kyle Kraus. There's the 38 Thomas Harmon right behind him, the 88 Jonathan Hernandez. We're going to go 3 wide coming out of turn 4. In fact, we're going to go 4 wide coming out of turn 4. This track is plenty wide enough for it as we go back down to 3 and then 2 wide. But yeah, this is definitely a track with many possibilities for racing lines and much runoff. There's Slama and Isaacson taking a couple of very different lines out. Look at that 3 wide coming out of the corner behind Slama. And that almost turned bad. But look at the moves on display. Furious blocking there from Jonathan Hernandez on the 24, Frank Isaacson. Frank doesn't usually get that busy behind the wheel unless he's around me on track, which this season hasn't happened, besides practice. You see Frank just about getting to the back bumper of Hernandez there, about making him loose. But that little bit of overdrive into the corner, you see the gap that's formed between himself and Hernandez here. This is definitely got to be a spot-on kind of a track where you really got to hit your marks properly. But yeah, this track is kind of like a bigger version of Darlington. Just, you know, it's a much wider track surface. Words. Oh, as Isaacson's gotten loose, and I think he's made contact with the inside wall there. The one thing that will be interesting for these drivers is getting into pit lane, because this is not a track that these guys will run very often. Unless it's popped up in hosted races and these guys have decided to join. But that is probably a very rare occurrence in itself. You see the 92 of Chris Champeau, our current top time sitter. And he is right up behind TJ Crampton in the 72. Crampton currently sitting in third. As these guys have just under 15 minutes left here in practice now. It's really just going to be all about getting to grips with this track and how different it is to everything else they run on. Because I can sit here and say, yeah, it's a bigger Darlington, but that's not all. It's a different line. It's a much wider track. It's, longer in length. Plus the pit road is completely different. And as you can see on our screen here, it's also a little bit foggy. So that's just to make things a little bit more interesting for our drivers out here. As we go into a slightly wider camera angle where we get to see some more action. Including that little stoush for the lead. The Kraus is up there, Watson and Crampton. And they're not fighting for the lead of the race, obviously, but this is for the lead of the pit party. Of which Chris Champeau's dropped off of that front pack a little bit. You got Hernandez and Harmon battling behind Champeau here. Here's our front pack, and Frank Isaacson has joined them after he had to go to the pits and get a new set of tyres, and around just into the fence goes the 38 of Thomas Harmon. As I said, different challenges on this track that these drivers will have to face, and just about everyone in the same boat, with the track just being very different to what they're used to. You see Frank Isaacson really struggling with turn straight and 4 here. Can't quite seem to get the right line for it. As our top three pull away from him, Champeau and Hernandez are catching him slightly. Although someone just caught the fence, I think that was Champeau. Onto the apron goes everyone. That's them practicing pit entry. Kraus got it a little bit wrong and Champeau got it a little bit wrong. But all in all, that was not a bad pit entry attempt. Well, as Kraus says, inside wall looks like fun. Turns dead left into it. And it looks like Hernandez has done the same thing while missing his pit box. One of the biggest things for this track is going to be how the cars handle in a pack around it. It's not something that we've seen before. Here is our league rookie, 85 of Trey Anderson, the 3.2k I rating with a A-class 1.4 safety. So if he's not careful, he's going to lose his A license at the end of the season. He's going to have to start pumping that up a little bit. And he's going to be out there in a Chevy. Oh, with Huskenveld sponsorship on the automobile. Definitely a top-notch set of pedals, the Huskenvelds. as there is now just under 10 minutes left in the session. See what Trey can do around here. He is yet to set a time. There's Champo and Isaacson going side by side through turns 3 and 4. Champo takes it to the pits. And Frank continues on to chase down Trey. And Trey has put in a 37.894, which is unfortunately only good enough for last at the moment. But I'm sure he will improve on that. As both Trey and Frank catched the wall there, and in fact, so did Kyle in the background. Frank spins it out, just scraping the wall on his way through. There is Chris Champo, still number 1 in our practice standings. Kyle Kraus currently P8. He'll be looking to improve on that one. Thomas Harmon just went around his outside. Thomas Harmon currently P4. I'd expect him to be a little bit further up, but he just couldn't quite get there yet. That's a very late pit entry there for Kyle Kraus. It looked like it worked out for him, though. We'll have to wait and see how he does it in race conditions. Because I suggest maybe a more conservative approach would be a little bit better. Considering we're not really going to get a run long enough for these guys to expend their tyres and fuel, so we don't really know what a fuel tyre run is going to feel like for these guys coming into the pits. Trey Anderson has stepped up his program a little bit. Got a 36.7. So he's just outside the fringes of moving up in the world a little bit. And now he has moved up, I think. No. Just because we're on Chris, I don't see him on my standings no more. There he is. There's Chris Champo leading the way in practice. Behind him, Joe Slama, currently P5. And I expect a little bit more out of Joe before practice is over. James Watson, the 39 car, current P2. Chris is pushing the envelope there, coming out of the final corner. We've got about 10 laps left in practice, which is just over 5.5 minutes. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to see too much more shifting around on the standings. Travis Massia, who's coming out of the pits, he's currently P10. Current best is a 36.587. There's Brian Pizzakemi on screen, the 78 car, currently P7. And he definitely won't be happy with that. He'll want to improve. And he might do it with the draft of Frank. Yeah, we're definitely seeing third gear through turns 3 and 4. That's another thing for these drivers too. They have to downshift twice for turn 3. Not sure if they have to do it in turns 1 and 2 as well. It looks like they can stick 4th in turns 1 and 2. But for 3 and 4, they have to go down to 3rd. I'm just scanning the standings, seeing if we can find any changes of position happening. Still currently Champo, Watson, Crampton, Harmon, Slammer, Hernandez, Pizzacami, Kraus, Isaacson, Masia, Williamson, and Anderson. Sounds like Isaacson's going around. But he's not going to improve on this one. We just have 2.5 minutes now left to go. Takes just over a minute for these guys to make any improvements at all to their times. But Chris Champeau has dropped his time down to a 36.232. Pizzacami's hit the fence. Time's definitely coming down a lot towards the end of this session. .232 by Champo, 2.43 by Watson, 2.63 by Crampton. Our top three separated by 0.03 of a second. Now we got less than a minute left here in practice. Means just one thing. Time for us to go to a little bit of an advert break. And when we come back, we will be seeing the results of qualifying. Right here from the simsearch.com 130. Recorded exclusively here from the Twin Rings Motegi Raceway. So make sure you guys stay tuned. And welcome back to Motegi, Japan for the Sim Search 130 here at the Twin Rings Raceway in Motegi. And starting off the pole for this historic event will be the 39 of James Watson. Starting on his outside will be the 72 of TJ Crampton. Starting out of P3 will be the 92 of Chris Champo. Starting out of P4 will be the 38 of Thomas Harmon. P5 will be the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez, and on his outside in P6 will be the 7 of Carl Kraus. P8 will be the 9 of Joe Slama, with P10 P8, the 13 of Travis Masia. P9 will be the 24 of Frank Isaacson, with P10 the league rookie, the 85 of Trey Anderson. And on the back row, we will have the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi out of 11th, and on his outside, the 81 of Corey Williamson. 12 cars to take on 85 laps around the Twin Rings Motegi Raceway here, and it should be an exciting little race as we just wait for everyone to hit the grid. I think we're only waiting on Carl Kraus at this point. Now, a few things to cover before we get started here. The first start is on green. All the restarts will be on the leader inside of the restart box, which is crudely painted with a couple of white lines. As I think everyone is on the grid, at least my standings say so. I do not see the 7 of Carl Kraus on track. In fact, he is not on track. So, some drama already before the race has even begun, as the 7 of Carl Kraus has not made the call for the grid, and he's going to be starting from the pits. It's going to move everyone in the outside row up a row. Travis Massey will now be out of 6th, and Trey Anderson out of 8th. Corey Williamson out of 10th. Now, we're not going to waste any time around here. As soon as the pace car comes out of turn 4, he's going to make that hard left turn into the pit lane. We're going to get these guys racing straight away. And the pace car is in. And here we go from the Twin Rings Motegi Raceway. The Output Racing League is racing for the SimSearch 130. And already you can see James Watson taking the lead. But on his outside, fighting hard, is TJ Crampton. Not wanting to give up a potential good run here. Although James Watson's going to have him completely cleared coming out of turn 2. Everyone is looking like they're starting to single file out already. James Watson thunders his way into turn 3, but side by side goes a 92 and a 38. That is Chris Champo and Thomas Harmon. They are squabbling over the 3rd position as James Watson is going to lead the first lap here at the Twin Rings Motegi Raceway. Into 1 and 2 for the second time. And things are actually looking pretty calm. Everyone is single filed with the exception of Champo and Harmon. And Harmon is actually making a race out of this on the outside line. He's not letting Champo get away with it. There could be potential for that second lane to come in later in the race, with Thomas Harmon staying up there for an entire lap. And here we go, battle for the lead already, as on the inside of James Watson goes TJ Crampton. And they come very close together going through turn 2. But it looks like Crampton is going to take the advantage coming out of the corner, as side by side once again goes Champo and Harmon. And this time, Harmon dropping back behind Hernandez. Well, actually side by side with Hernandez as Champo made a move around the outside. Now the 88 and the 38 battle side by side over the 4th position. You see back there as well the 78 of Brian Pizzakemi right on the tail of Frank Isaacson. Was looking threatening there for a second, didn't make anything of it. As a very wide line being taken there by Chris Champeau, he's diamonding off the corner to really try and get a run down this back straight. It's also probably in a way to try and avoid the wall. Is now the 13 of Travis Massio trying to make a move on the 9 of Joe Salama. Side by side, they're going to going through turns 3 and 4. It looks like Pizzakemi's going to try to follow suit on Frank Isaacson up the inside. This is where all the action is right now, as these guys go 2 by 2 through turns 1 and 2 once more. And it looks like the 13 Travis Massio gets that move made, but still side by side is Isaacson and Pizzakemi. And Frank definitely not wanting to give up this position easily, as Massio goes a little bit wide. That opens up the door there for the 9 of Slama, but Slama couldn't take it. And now Pizzakemi, he's got a great run going along the front straight here. He could, no, I say he could maybe challenge Slama for that 7th position. Didn't quite have the legs on it. And in fact, Frank Isaacson around the outside of 1 and 2 defends that position with perfection. You see the 78 Pizzakemi still trying to make the move stick though. It's TJ Crampton leading the way in the Speedway Memes Motorsports number 72 car. And it looks like Chris Champeau fancies himself a move for 2nd. So he gets up on the inside of James Watson now. Side by side they go. Watson centered in deep. He's trying to get that momentum going, as Champeau just hugs that white line and hopes for the best. In fact, he makes the move stick very easily and quickly. As back in the pack, Frank Isaacson trying to make some moves. He's gotten past Pizzakemi once more, and he's gotten past Massia. Now he's making a charge at Joe Slama. See in the background there, Corey Williamson trying to get onto the tail of Pizzakemi, but Pizzakemi going to pull out a little bit. Looked like he was going to try and make a move on Massia. Couldn't quite work out for him, no. But he will maintain position on the inside of 1 and 2. The draft is very important on this track in the straightaways. Don't want to give it up if you don't have to. There goes Frank Isaacson now to the inside of Joe Slama in 3 and 4, the tighter of the corners. He makes that move stick very easily. As you can see up ahead, there is another battle forming between the 38 and the 39. It does the 88 and the 39. As Thomas Harmon back there in 5th. But like Hernandez did not have the legs on him to try and make that move on Watson's stick. And we're already nearly 9 laps in the books. This race going by very quickly at the moment. Now Hernandez tries again to get to the inside of the 39 car, as I hit the wrong button. Side by side into turn 1 and 2 they go. In fact, just about 3 wide, as you can see. The 38 of Harmon there, kind of looking at the middle, thinking about the possibilities, not quite going for it. But he is now going to try and make the move on the 39 himself. And he's got that move made very quickly into the piece. James Watson diamonding down off the corner a little bit, trying to get a better run on exit. Couldn't quite get there. It looks like some of these cars starting to get a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. Something that these drivers are going to have to watch for, as we officially have 10 laps in the books after only just 6 minutes of racing. So if we get no cautions, this race will go very quickly. And after starting from the pits, Kyle Kraus actually just about onto the back of this pack. Let's have a look out of his nose here. Once I find the right camera, there it is. That's 1.7 seconds between himself and league rookie Trey Anderson. So he's definitely been closing in the gap here to the field. See what he can make of it. Now set the camera to focus on crashes. We're currently looking at the 39, James Watson. As Watson goes into turns 3 and 4 for the 12th time. Not including the pace lap, obviously. And the laps, as I said, ticking away very quickly here. Before we know it, just a snap of your fingers, we'll already be quarter of the way through this race. Side by side goes Slama and Isaacson. Slama trying to take that position back from Frank. See what Joe can do this time going into 3 and 4. The battle for 6, and just behind them, the 78, Brian Pizzicami. He is normally known as a mover and a shaker. Oh, his big time loose was Frank Isaacson that time in turn 4. He's going to lose both of those positions. As Kyle Kraus is well and truly on the back of this pack now. Now, Frank was struggling a little bit in practice with the exit of turn 4. Maybe those little bits of evilness catching up to him a little bit here. There's Trey Anderson, league rookie. And it looks like he's going to have his hands full of Travis Massia here in a little second. As I just got some primo food delivery. Ham and cheese toasties. And we're already 15 and a half laps into the books. These guys zooming through this race very quickly. We can safely say it takes just under 10 minutes to complete 16 laps around the Twin Wings Motegi Raceway here. And here goes Kyle Kraus now. He's well and truly in the fight. And he's gone to the inside and already passed Travis Massia. And now he's trying to get Trey Anderson as well. So it's Skull versus Huskenveld with Gladiator just behind. And you see Kyle Kraus really running on that white line around the bottom of the track, trying to take all the advantage he can from it. As still side by side, Kraus and Anderson go. This time, it's like Kraus got the move made. So now look at Thomas Harmon sitting there in 4th. He's staring down the backside of Jonathan Hernandez. We go back to the back of the pack. It's Kyle Kraus now pulling away from Anderson and Massia. And he's now trying to hunt down Corey Williamson, who's only half a second up the road. Cameras don't know where to focus. This isn't me swapping between the two packs. This is iRacing doing it all themselves. It looks like there's just about a second between our two leaders, Crampton and Champeau. They're definitely well and truly in control of this race, though. And Hernandez up 2 positions from where he started. He started 5th, up into 3rd. Fizikami, who struggled in qualifying, has made his way up to 7th, sorry. 9th would be Corey Williamson. As we have now reached 1/4 race distance, I think we'll take this time to go to a quick ad break. So when we come back, more action here from the simsearch.com. 1:30 here from the Twin Rings Motegi Speedway. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Twin Rings Motegi Speedway here in Motegi, Japan for the simsearch.com 130 right here on the Yossi Sim commentator channel for the Output Racing League. You see is 1.1 seconds between our leader TJ Cranton and the 92 Chris Champeau. And TJ Cranton just looks like he's dominating this race so far. And it hasn't really been too much else going on at the moment. Everyone's kind of single-filed out and got a little bit of a gap going. Kyle Kraus did eventually get around Corey Williamson. It looks like Trey Anderson right on the tail of Corey Williamson now. So we might see a little bit of action there shortly. As Kyle Kraus trying to chase down the 24 Frank Isaacson. There's no one else really side-by-side or battling at the moment. Things have really just chilled out a bit here. The 13 of Travis Massia has lost the draft though. And he's fallen off the back of the pack quite considerably. Looks like he actually got very loose there coming out of turn 4. But yeah, things definitely just chilled out right now. Let's go through the field here a little bit, see where everyone's at. Of course, the 782 TJ Cranton leading. Second place, the 92 of Chris Champeau. Third place is the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Right on his tail, though, the 38 of Thomas Harmon. Behind them is the 39 of James Watson and the 9 of Joe Slama. These guys look close enough that they could start battling here very shortly. Then we have the 78, Brian Pizzakemi, sitting back there in 7th. And Frank Isaacson in the 24, who has his hands full of the 7 of Kyle Kraus. These guys are 8th and 9th. But we're going to sit here for a second, because it looks like Kyle Kraus is about to make his move into turn 3. Not quite. Frank goes deeper, and he's going to wash up the track. This is going to be what Kyle Kraus needs to get around him. And in fact, there he goes, makes the move stick. Just behind these guys, league rookie Trey Anderson in the 85 car. Then we have Corey Williamson in the 81. Actually really good to see Corey out there. We haven't seen him on track very much in the last couple of seasons. Done a pick and choose kind of schedule. I respect that. Then following up the rest of the field, the 13 of Travis Massia. We'll go back to focusing on whatever. We see Thomas Harmon on screen, currently in 4th. Looks like Slama really just chilling out here behind Watson, behind these guys. He hasn't really tried to go for a move, although the door just got opened coming out of turn 2 for him. He is right on the tail of Watson this time. Watson moved down slightly in defense, and Slama still just sticks in behind him. There's no real advantage or disadvantage for these guys at the moment. They're kind of stalemated here a little bit. But maybe the pit stop cycle will change things up here a bit. Especially considering pit entry looks very difficult around this track. It's going to be compounded with the tyre wear that we'll have by the time we reach the pit stop cycle. Thomas Harmon is only 0.4 of a second behind Hernandez, but he hasn't really been able to close this gap. As I said, just a lot of stalemating going on. I just saw in the background Joe Slama running out very wide, and that actually lengthened the gap between himself and Watson. But it looks like from all the unknowns in this race, everyone's just trying to play it a little bit safe. No one's really pushing too hard from what it looks like. We do see people sliding out sideways every now and then coming out of turn 4. But it's really nothing too severe. Onto the back straight they go once more. Shouldn't be too far away from green flag stops. Maybe about 10 laps time we'll start seeing people duck in for a pit stop. Watson continues to hold off Slama here for the 5th position. And the setup that we got here tonight is actually also provided by James Watson and the Team Watson Racing Setups team, our sponsors for the previous 3 weeks. Now, it looks like we've already got one in the pits. That's Chris Champeau in a 92. Corey Williamson also in the pits. So the pit stop cycle starting early for a couple of drivers. Of course, Kyle Kraus started in the pit lane. And yep, just tyres and fuel, and he's off and going again. So Chris Champeau will be the first car one lap down as it stands. Looks like he's just going to pop out behind Watson and Slama. There you go. It looks like our leader, TJ Crampton, in the pits. This could end up being a two-stop race by the looks of things. As now Jonathan Hernandez inherits the lead. And let's see the difference new tyres makes for Chris Champeau. He goes zooming around Joe Slama. Looks like there's not actually a whole lot of fall off for these cars around here. Only to the tune of about 0.3 of a second. James Watson's fastest lap is a 36.465, and his last lap was a 36.743. PJ Crampton come out in front of Thomas Harmon. That's not what Thomas would have wanted to see. As you can see there in the background, the 92, Chris Champeau, on his fresh tyres, working his way through the field a little bit, trying to get his lap back. He's now the second car one lap down. Crampton came out in front of him. Crampton doesn't have it all his own way at the moment. Doesn't have the clean air that he had once he took the lead, because he's stuck behind Hernandez. Now Champeau side by side with Harmon. This is pivotal right now, because Crampton still stuck behind Hernandez. He hasn't been able to make the move yet. And what was once a huge lead, definitely shrinking down every lap that Crampton stays behind Hernandez. Side by side they go at the moment, as Slama has gotten around Kraus. I just saw that happen on the standings. Chris Champeau wants to get himself back onto the lead lap here. To the inside of Hernandez he goes in 3 and 4. And now in comes Hernandez for his pit stop. So the pit stop sequence definitely happening a lot sooner than I thought it would. It looks like most drivers pushing it out to halfway, with the small few bringing it in beforehand. Pizzacami, Slama and Kraus now battling it out for the third position on track. Slama trying to get the position away from Pizzacami. Couldn't quite get there, as we are officially halfway in this race. 43 down, 42 to go. And that did not work out for Slama. He's going to have to drop him behind Kraus, who's now taken over the 4th position and is all over the tail of Pizzacchemi. I think maybe the early pit stop is definitely a good idea around here, honestly. Isaacson and Anderson have entered the pit lane. They came in a lap ago, but they're just about come out. It's a long pit stop for Anderson. He's in the pit lane there for 54 seconds altogether. The average time is about 42. So he went an extra 12 seconds on top of most. As Kraus porked that time going through turn 4. And now here comes Slama. He gets around Pizzacchemi. Couldn't quite do anything with Kraus there, although Pizzacchemi fighting back on that outside line. These guys make it interesting as Harmon's in the pits. James Watson has inherited the lead. Now we only have 5 cars left to pit. It's Watson, Kraus, Slama, Pizzacchemi, and Massia. Watson still continues on. TJ Crampton is effectively the race leader. Chris Champeau with the fastest lap of the race, a 36.177. He's flying right now. As this time the leader, James Watson, will come into the pits. And for the first time in this race, Kyle Kraus, who started in pit lane, will inherit the lead. Now we just have 4 cars left to commence their pit stops. Kraus, Slama, Pizzacchemi, and Massia. As we are edging ever closer to the 3/4 mark of this race. Slama going very wide in 3 and 4. Oh, and sideways was Pizzacchemi coming out of 4. Both playing the agent of their own destruction right now. We only have 3 cars 1 lap down at the minute. It's Williamson, Isaacson, and Anderson. And still our top 4 remain on the track. Looking at Crampton and Champeau, there's only half a second between these two. Our effective race leaders in 5th and 6th. And it looks like Trey Anderson back into the pits. Not sure if he hit the wall or something, but he's making the trip back down pit lane. And he's going to lose a lot more time because of it. And again, our top 4 stay out. It's almost nothing between Crampton and Champeau right now. Champeau has just definitely found something. Although Crampton's fastest lap, 36.179, nothing to sneeze at. The top four continue to circulate the track. As I said, fall off not really a thing around this track. Like Crampton just put in a 36.260 and he is 15 laps into the run. See what lap times our leader is doing. Kyle Kraus has just started lap 54. His last lap was a 37 flat. It's only 7 tenths slower than his fastest time. And he's on 53 lap old tyres. But these two definitely going a lot faster than our leaders. Probably by virtue of the fresher tyres and just general driver skill, as the top four once more stay out. Big loose moment that time for Chris Champeau coming out of the fourth corner. It's opened up the gap here a little bit for Crampton. Down in the pull away ever so slightly. Half a second between these two once more. I'm not sure, but I think maybe our top four are considering the possibility of just running the whole race without pitting. I'm not sure if the fuel can last that long or not, though. I've done no laps around here with this setup, so I have no clue personally. Well, and it looks like Trey Anderson, our league rookie, is OUT out of this race. And now look at Corey Williamson and Frank Isaacson. These two battling over the wooden spoon. Oh, Frank gets very loose coming out of four. I think we also... No, I thought we had a battle for the lead for a second. Guess I was wrong. Our leaders changing position on the standings. Could have been a glitch. I'm just waiting for the moment where they light up the standings board with them all pitting, which none of our top four have done so yet. So it's quite interesting, actually. Right, let's go keep an eye on our leader, the 7 of Kyle Kraus. See if we get any inkling of him coming into pit here shortly. Travis Massier is in. That leaves us with just 3 left to pit now. And here comes Kraus. Kraus is in, Slama stays out. And I think Pizzacchemi's come in as well. He has. So now Slama, the only car yet to pit. As Massier is in what? Oh no, he was just finishing his pit stop. Don't mind me. Now let's see what Salama does. He is the only one yet to pit. You'd think that he'd have to pit this time. And he does. And this should hand lead of the race back to the 72 of TJ Crampton, who has extended his lead just about out to 1 second once more. As they're about to round up Slama, who is in the pit lane, yet to get to his pit box to officially retake the lead. Now the timing in my standings is all screwy, but hopefully very shortly that should fix itself. But for the moment, let's go focus on crashes, see what we can find. And we've got Isaacson battling with Williamson. To the inside of Williamson goes Isaacson. And Williamson goes very deep under brakes into turn 3, holding off Frank for the moment. Just behind these guys is Brian Pizzacchemi in the 78. They go side by side on the pit straight. And this time, Frank Isaacson in turn 1 gets the move made. And Pizzacchemi says, I want a piece of this too, and moves his way up side by side with Williamson. In fact, he makes the move stick in 1 and 2. As we have 62 laps in the books, just about 63, as our leaders aren't very far behind these guys. About 8 seconds behind this pack. So I think we're going to go to another quick commercial break here. When we come back, we will be going to the checkered flag right here on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for the simsearch.com 130 from the Twin Rings Motegi Speedway. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Welcome back to the Twin Rings Motegi Speedway for the Sim Search 130 here for the Output Racing League on the Aussie Sim Commentator channel. TJ Crampton still leading the way by 1 second over the 92 of Chris Champeau. And this has been a very uneventful race. We've had 0 cautions. We do have 1 retirement in the form of Trey Anderson, league rookie. He lasted 49 laps, which is not too bad considering this is a fairly difficult kind of track. And it's to my understanding that these drivers, they just want to get their stuff packed up and get straight back on the plane back to the United States. We probably won't get any driver interviews after this as Corey Williamson makes another trip down the pit lane. But time is ticking down We have less than 20 laps to go in this race. And we're running out of laps, Chris Champeau, to catch and pass TJ Crampton here. The gap is nearly out to 2 seconds. Hernandez in third is another 7 seconds behind Champeau. That made that 5 seconds as my software caught up. Sometimes it doesn't know whether it's Arthur or Martha. As Williamson comes back out of the pits, he's going to be 2 laps down. But if we do get a caution, or in fact, if we get 2 cautions in a row, then he will be back on the lead lap. In theory. As long as he doesn't cause the cautions, of course. And according to my software, if we don't get a caution, then this race will only last 51 minutes. We're currently sitting at the 43-minute mark. So it thinks that this race will be over in about 8 minutes. 8 minutes to do 15 and a half laps. So considering we did 16 before in 6 minutes, I reckon that's a very real possibility. Especially with the times these drivers are doing. TJ Crampton's still pumping out 36.7 second laps. I mean, 6/10 slower than his fastest lap, but he is absolutely flying along. I'll set the camera back to focus on whatever. We're looking at our 10th place driver, Frank Isaacson. Now we go look at Kyle Kraus, who is up into P6, and now Jonathan Hernandez, who is our 3rd place driver. There's a lap car between Hernandez and Harmon about 2.5 seconds behind Hernandez right now. So Harmon probably having a Japanese visit that he would love to forget. And I'm just having a quick squiz. Our 2 leaders actually have the oldest tires of everyone on track right now. Champeau has 37 lap old tires, and Crampton with 35 lap old tires. And they're only about a 10th slower than Hernandez. Was definitely not going to catch them in time to make any kind of moves. Williamson actually trying to look like he's going to try and initiate an overtake here. On Hernandez, but just don't think he could quite get it. This has been a very calm race, though. Not too much been going on at all. These drivers have been handling themselves very well around here. No one really wanting to tear up their stuff before having to ship it all back to America. I think that's actually why Trey Anderson decided to pull the pin. I think he maybe rubbed the wall a little bit coming out of turn 2. I thought, you know, a straightish car is better than a completely bent one on the plane. As we have just 10 laps left to run in this race now. 75 laps down. Hernandez has been just ever so slightly catching our leaders, you know, a 10th here and there. But it's just not really enough to make a real difference to the lead that they have. As we look at Corey Williamson, the guy with the freshest tyres on track, 2 laps down, sitting in behind our 3rd place driver. I think Williamson's just content to sit here behind Hernandez and not really bother him too much. But Williamson does run very wide through turns 3 and 4 that time. I think Harmon actually got a little bit loose that time coming out of 4. Laps just keep winding down. We'll have I think about 6 laps to go now. 6 or 7 laps to go. But this also just goes to speak to the skill of these drivers here that we have in the Output Racing League. A track that we never visit. It's not on the schedule. We don't have a setup for. We had to get a setup made for it. And these guys have put their best foot forward. And Brian Pizzicemi has put in the fastest lap of the race. All the way down in 9th place, Brian Pizzicemi put in a 36.117. And he is late into the run too. I think he just did that in the last couple of laps. So he's got 20 lap old tyres right now. So it was either 17, 18 or 19 lap old tyres that he did that on. We now have 5 laps to go in this race. And we'll go focus back in on our leader, TJ Crampton, in these final 5 laps. Crampton just very smooth on the wheel around here. You can tell he's not forcing the car. He's definitely throttle controlling it. Not putting any undue stress on these tyres. At least he won't do until it comes to the victory burnout, if he can make it that far. We'll see how he goes, because looks like these guys have a lot of range on their fuel tanks as well. Because it was surprising to see a few of them pitting so early in the piece. I mean, when he's just come across the line, so he's got 45 lap old tyres at the moment. And he's still pumping out 36 nines. If that doesn't tell you that he's been pretty easy on his equipment, then I don't know what will. As he comes out of turn 4, he will get the twin sticks in the air to signify 2 laps to go around the twin ring Motegi Speedway here for the SimSearch.com 130. And for the penultimate time, he comes out of turn 2, thunders down the back straight. Got a 3-second gap over Chris Champo. Rounding the final corner for the penultimate time. It is going to be white flag, last lap, last chance to win it or wear it, as Fred the flag marshal vigorously waves the white flag in the air. That's right, it is Fred the flag marshal. He came over from doing the Formula Fords and decided to join us over here for the Output Racing League. Is coming out of the final corner for the final time. Your winner here in Motegi, Japan, is going to be the 72 of TJ Crampton. Second place goes to Chris Champeau, and third will go to Jonathan Hernandez. Fourth place, Thomas Harmon, and fifth, who's just crossed the line, will be James Watson. That race went flag to flag, 52 minutes and 27 seconds officially on the clock for the race length. Fastest lap of the race was done by Brian Pizzicemi at 36.117. And he did that with 16, 17, 18 or 19 lap old tires. But here we go, a little bit of a treat for Japan. TJ Crampton gonna burn it down on the front straight of the twin ring Motegi Speedway. He's definitely got a lot of burnout pad to work with here, but he's choosing just to use the lower half of the track. But with that, we're going to go to another quick commercial break. When we come back, we will have just a little review of our hard charger and our top three, so make sure you guys stay tuned. Now time for our Autism Awareness Hard Charger Award winner. And tonight's Hard Charger is also our third place getter. Of course, that is the 88 of Jonathan Hernandez. Jonathan very early in the piece jumped up into third. Had a bit of a battle there with Thomas Harmon over the third position early on in the going. But once the race really got spread out, he just stuck to that third place and he did not look back. all in all, he only gained a couple of positions, starting from 5th, finishing in 3rd, but it's still technically a hard charger, regardless. Words. Um, yeah. I actually feel really dirty calling this the hard charger, but hey, rules is rules. Second place getter, of course, the 92 of Chris Champeau. And he tried to put up a fight with TJ Crampton for so long in this race, just couldn't quite keep up there with him. The first to pit had the oldest tyres at the finish line, but unfortunately, ultimately finishing in P2 a few seconds off the pace. But no one could stop the 72 car TJ Crampton for Speedway Memes Motorsports. You can see it there on his hood. And he just absolutely dominated this race start to finish. He had the second oldest tyres on track, but he definitely came home with a dominating victory. Almost lost it there after the pit stop cycle, getting stuck behind Hernandez for a couple of laps, allowing Chris Champeau to get right up on his bumper. But once they both got clear of Hernandez and they were just allowed to run their own laps, he just really showed how much pace he's got in this 72 Toyota Camry. But that is going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you all very much for coming out and having a gander at what was a very different kind of a race here with going green flag all the way through. We haven't had one of those for a while. But make sure you come back with us next week. Is it next week or do we have a break, actually? And it looks like we actually have a break. So come back with us in 2 weeks' time. Give our drivers some time to relax after the long, harrowing trip over to Japan when we go to the top lane dominating Kansas Speedway. And that one will definitely be one not to miss. So until then, I've been your commentator, the Aussie Sim commentator. We'll see you guys in Kansas.